Welcome into Week 5 of the Fearless Football Forecast, powered by Greenville Utilities. I am Clip Brock. Joining me today, directly across from me, from the Daily Reflector, Tony Castleberry.
This is Mike 2, correct?
You are on Mike 2 today.
Excellent. Glad to be here.
And on Mike 1, we gave him the promotion.
Yep.
Number 1.
Prep sports beat writer for the Daily Reflector. He is Jordan Anders. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, man, what's going on?
What's going on? High school football's going on,
You
Jordan.
said it, Clip.
I did. And guys, coming off what I'm calling the best week of high school football so far in 2015. Let's see what we have this week. Last week, very exciting.
Yeah.
We'll get into a little bit of it, but we're going to preview these games starting with D.H. Conley. The Vikings are home coming off a win over West Carteret. The Vikings getting it done last week. They host West Craven this week, and Jordan set this matchup up.
Well, Conley, they dug themselves a big hole against Washington and they were able to come back and take a lead but not hold on. Last week, it was funny. I told Nate Connor when I talked to him this week, I was covering South Central at North Pitt and checked Twitter, and they were down 30-14, and I said, well, that's, we'll have plenty to talk about them, falling behind and not being able to win again. And then when I saw the final score was, I thought it was a typo. They came back and just exploded back to take that win over West Carteret, which I think is going to be a confidence booster for them. In talking with Coach Connor this week, about them being able to fall behind and then show that they're able to come back and face adversity. I guess like he said, it's you never want to have to do that, but it's good. It was good for them to show that they could. Against West Craven, this is a tough matchup for them. They're 3-0 and West Craven's outscored their 3 opponents 113-30 this year, so This is not going to be any kind of cakewalk for them. They've got a dual threat quarterback in Darius Abrams, who's averaging over 100 yards, both rushing and passing, in the 3 games so far this season. So, it's going to be a tough matchup. I'm going to take Conley only because they were able to bounce back a little bit from the loss to Washington, and I'm gonna go with them and say that they're able to keep building because they need something good to happen before the big matchup coming up next week with Rose.
Jordan and Tony going with D.H. Conley over West Craven. Guys, J.H. Rose coming off a classic against Havelock. They came up just short. They are at Rocky Mount this week. Always a great game when these two teams get together. Tony, set the scene there.
The Gryphons and the Rampants, 2 mascots that aren't really mascots. They aren't
Solid.
anything as far as we know, right? But they're iconic in this part of the state.
It's like fantasy football.
Yeah, and these games have generally been really good between these teams. And I expect it to be that way again. I like what Rose did last week. You felt like they had a chance to win that game. It was nip and tuck against a Havelock team that will contend for a state title in the 3A ranks. The fact that they scored that many points, 48 against that Havelock defense, man, that's got to give them some confidence, although they're going to be missing their quarterback, Ace Alexander. And that, having to go on the road without your lead quarterback, I think that's going to be a tough road for them. I feel like that they'll have enough with Cornell Powell and other pieces offensively to beat Rocky Mount, but I think it's going to be a close game. I will pick Rose.
All right, Rose is the pick from both Tony and Jordan. You're listening and watching the Fearless Football Forecast, powered by Greenville Utilities on Pirate Radio 1250 and 930, and online at reflector.com. Oh, South Central. Oh, yeah. So close. Falcons.
Right. Had a lead.
Have the lead. Have the ball. Turnover. North Pitt scores, goes on to win in overtime. South Central back home this week, taking on Hertford County. Jordan, don't know much about Hertford County. Do you know enough to give South Central a W here?
Man, it was so rough to watch Friday night. And talking with Andy too afterwards. He put on a brave face, and to their credit, South Central played. It was clearly their best performance of the year. They scored more points in 3 quarters and a couple of minutes than they had scored in the 3 games coming in. So they were able to move the ball a little bit. Robert Rapp's got some talent. If they when they get him out of the pocket, they didn't do that a whole lot Friday night. But when they did, the 3 or 4 times he did, he was able to break off some decent runs. But I don't know.
The exasperation in Jordan's voice right now.
They were, so it took away some confidence from the way that they performed, but that loss is just kind of gut-wrenching. And looking at Hertford County, they're coming in having won, 47-0 over Southern Vance last week. They're playing well, and they've got some talent, especially throwing the ball. Their quarterback, Christian Folston's thrown for 11 touchdowns so far in 4 games. So it's going to be
Just say it.
Pick
Just
a
say
team,
it,
Jordan.
Say it.
I'm gonna go with Hertford County. South Central's they're still
Finally.
struggling a little bit.
Tony, you went with South Central last week, and you're going to
Yep.
do it again this week.
You're
right?
absolutely right. I am. I really am. I'm covering that game. I'm going to be there.
All right.
That's gonna be the charm.
I'm picking South Central. They've had some success against Hertford County over the last few years. I think they get the first win.
Tony,
See how quickly I got there, Jordan? I didn't have to hem and
I was
haw.
trying to be diplomatic.
I hear you.
Tony is sticking with the Falcons.
I am.
All right, North Pitt coming off a win. Tony Castleberry. They're at Pasquotank coming up this Friday.
Yeah, and I feel like that's, even though it went down in a weird way at the end of that game, any win is a good win when you're undefeated, obviously. They got that first victory out of the way. I feel like Dave Bowles' bunch is going to build some confidence. Jordan and I were talking off the air that, they're still trying to teach some fundamental things to these young kids on that team, and that's tough to do when you're going into I think this is their fourth game of the year. That's a difficult chore, but getting that win was huge, and I feel like North Pitt's going to be able to carry that over. I like what they do defensively and offensively. It feels like they're coming around. I'm picking the Panthers.
All right, Aiden Grifton coming off a big win against Farmville Central. They're on the road at Pamlico County this week. Jordan, what do you think about the Chargers?
The biggest thing to take, they only scored 12 points, but when you don't give up an offensive touchdown, I guess that's you can get by with winning with that many points. That was a big win. I think it surprised all of us last week.
I was a little surprised.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna look at them this week, and I'm gonna take them against Pamlico just for, as I was talking with Tony, the theory of transference where Farmville.
Theory. Not familiar.
Farmville thumped Pamlico a couple weeks ago, and Aiden Grifton beat Farmville last week.
Right.
So by the theory of transference, Aiden Grifton should win this one pretty handily.
All right, guys, and our game of the week, I say our, I just came up with it on my
own.
Our, I'm a pirate. We're at Pirate Radio. Farmville Central at Green Central. The Rams off to a fantastic start to the year. Farmville Central, a setback last week against Aiden Grifton. Tony, how do you handicap this one?
Green Central obviously on a roll, ranked in the top 10 in the state for the first time in a while. I like what they're doing. They're and Farmville Central missing quarterback Shaft Parker for the second consecutive week. That's going to be tough. He doesn't dazzle you with the numbers he puts up, but he runs that offense well. Even as a sophomore last year, I think. I just remember him really being in command of that entire thing. And, you have to have somebody get the ball to Kayshawn Baker and those receivers that they have. And Shaft was the guy that they were counting on to do that. He's not going to be around and going to Green Central. I think that's too tough a road for Farmville Central. I think they fall to 2-3.
All right, the picks are in. Tony and Jordan like D.H. Conley. They like J.H. Rose. They like Aiden Grifton and Green Central. Tony is going with South Central. Jordan taking Hertford County in that one. And Jordan going Pasquotank. Tony going North Pitt. Week 5 of the Fearless Football Forecast in the books. We'll see you next week on another edition of the Fearless Football Forecast powered by Greenville Utilities on Pirate Radio 1250 and 930 and online at reflector.com.